Most likely you're here today because you sell some kind of life insurance product and are considering ways and strategies to build a passive stream of income into your insurance business. And you're most likely considering building an agency or possibly looking at Medicare sales. What we're going to be talking about today is the difference between both, the pros and the cons of building a passive stream of income by either building an agency or selling Medicare. And if you're looking at potentially getting into one of these lines of business to build a larger income, a passive stream of income, then what you're going to get from this video is my perspective as somebody who has both built an agency and who has also trained and recruited and consulted agents in my agency who are actively building a Medicare book of business that pays a passive income. So stick around and get the perspective you need to figure out what's best for you. Hey, Dave Duford here at DeFord Insurance Group, where I train and recruit agents nationally to sell final expense, Medicare, and annuities face-to-face and over the phone. If you'd like to learn more about joining my agency to sell either or build an agency too, go to davidduford.com/FAQ to learn more. So before we go into the differences between agency building and selling Medicare to build a passive income, let's talk about the benefits of a passive income anyway. I think it's good to just describe this ahead of time so you guys kind of know where the motivation is. Maybe you're brand new to the business and kind of wondering what passive income is all about. Well, in the insurance business, of course, passive income is selling a product, or in some cases, recruiting an agency and building an agency where you make money and not necessarily have to do work to make the money. So, for example, in Medicare sales, the Medicare is a passive income earning product. It does pay a first-year commission, but the real lucrative nature of the business comes many years down the line as you continually get paid the same slated amount each year indefinitely for life as long as a client is on the books. And for agency building, it is passive as well because you get to recruit people, train them on how to do the system, and then for each sale they make, you make a cut of the action so that you make money without having to do the work of selling insurance face-to-face or over the phone. Okay, so as we get into here, let's first talk about the pros and cons of agency building, and then we'll get to the pros and cons of Medicare sales, and I'm going to kind of do some takeaways to hopefully give you some guidance on which direction for you to do that would be best for you. Okay, so let's talk about the pros of building an agency to build passive income. First of all, it is the ultimate strategy to go from one to many. What I mean by that is you as one agent only make money on yourself and your personal production. Whereas the agency building side, you're allowed to scale your effort by duplicating yourself and other agents who learn the same system you did and now can duplicate it to an even higher level of production than you'd ever be able to get on your own. And as in many business models where you go from one to many, there's a lot of security in a sense from having a lot of agents out there working and making money, and then you not having to do it. If you get sick, you've got the dependence of other agents out there who are making things happen. And you really get to leverage the scale that's possible in this business by running an agency and recruiting a lot of others underneath you. The second advantage to building a passive income through agency building is you really have the true potential over time to eliminate the requirement for you to do some kind of field sales or telesales activity. So for me, it took 4.5 years from starting my agency to then quitting full-time final expense sales before I had enough agents and enough override income to replace my personal production. But for some agents, like those we've taught in our agency, it's been much faster. Sometimes it's a year to 2 years, sometimes it's less than that. And the point is again, it's a pretty cool thing if you like the idea of getting out of the field one day, is that building an agency and duplicating your success in others and leading from the front, you do get the opportunity with enough scale and enough time that passes to not have to do the in-the-field work that requires so much of our attention, and to eliminate that aspect of work so that you can focus your entire pursuit on helping your agents and building them up as producers. The other third thing about building an agency is the rewarding aspect of it in building up other people. I've been doing agency building since 2013. I've had thousands of agents come through my doors, and many of those have been success stories. And it's so nice to see people who come from nothing, or they've struggled in their lives, and they've now made a successful business model where they're doing very, very well. They're providing for their family. We're teaching them new skills that they can take out to the field and help people with. And it's so rewarding to see people who build themselves up and who achieve things in life and do very well. And it's a nice thing that you get that you don't really get in the personal production world, especially if you're selling just life insurance product to residential type of strategies like final expense or mortgage protection. They're kind of one and done type of sales. You really don't spend a lot of time growing with them. But on the flip side, when you build an agency and you manage and you train and support, you get to see these growth trajectories and see people accomplish really cool things. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a great thing if you like to see others win beside yourself. So now that we've talked about some of the pros of building an agency when it comes to passive income and just in general, let's talk about some of the drawbacks, some of the risks that exists when you get into any kind of agency building scenario. Okay, probably the most unspoken risk that absolutely has to be revealed to you is the very nature of the risk of debt that you take on by co-signing the agents underneath you. Let me explain to you how this works. This is especially profound if you're selling a life insurance product like mortgage protection or final expense. When you recruit an agent, they'll most likely get advancing on commissions, right? That's how they pay their bills and get cash flow. But what you do every time when you recruit that agent, the contracting paperwork stipulates that if said agent, your downline recruit, does not pay back chargebacks they accumulate, then you sign off on being responsible for any chargebacks that they accumulate and don't pay. Now, in most cases, if you do a good job selecting the right people, you do a good job of training agents to be honest people and go out there and work hard, this really is a minimal type of threat. But there are a lot of big organizations, especially, I can't stress it enough, the mass marketing ones that are very MLM focused, where chargebacks are just a significant issue. For example, I had got an email from somebody yesterday who has a chargeback with a certain company that one big MLM pushes a lot of $17,000. And she's wondering why she can't write business anymore because nobody wants to do business with her. But the point is that you take that risk on, and that $17,000 this lady accumulated, her upline now owes that, and out of his commissions, or if he has to write a check, he's going to have to pay that down. In the extreme cases, I've heard of people having chargebacks in the $70,000 to $100,000 range that were rolled up to them by one agent or by a small agency. And I recently heard of a chargeback that was literally white-collar crime, where in 1 month an agent racked up so much debt, and it was all not legitimate work, but had a racked up debt of $270,000 in 1 month, which is just hard to believe that it even got that bad, and the agency or the carrier didn't stop it. But the point is, this is the kind of existential risk that you take on when you get into the insurance sales world and you recruit agents. And if you're not comfortable with that, or if you don't have the financial power to manage that, then chances are agency building is not really the best bet for you to go through. The second issue that is problematic at times is that one of the things, and this is common throughout all sales business models in and outside of insurance, is that selling is a completely different skill set from management. And many people who get into agency building had successful careers in selling, and I agree they should before they go bother to train people. Why would you want to train somebody if you don't know how to do it, right? But the skill set of actually selecting good people, training them accordingly, and helping them develop and grow is completely different in many cases from the act of you actually doing the selling. And what many sales agents realize as they agency build is that it's a frustrating process for many of them having to manage and deal with people. Many a times what you see are sales managers that don't return text messages or don't return phone calls to their people. They get tired of dealing with their questions. They really don't have the proper mindset and coaching and training to navigate from selling successfully, managing only themselves, to now managing and being responsible for many people and being able to help them in their career succeed the most that they can. One of the things I hear from newly minted managers that were used to managing just themselves in sales and now that are managing many is how time-consuming it is to actually manage, build, recruit, and grow a team of a bunch of different individuals, and how that time requirement sucks away the time from their own personal production. And many managers find that they don't make as much money, initially at least, and they're getting to financial dire straits because they just can't go out there and work because they've got all these other people they've recruited that they're now responsible for. And the last issue with building an agency truly is that it really isn't a full passive income earning opportunity. Anybody who runs a successful agency will tell you, You can't just walk away from your people for months on end. You can't just like disappear into the ethers, never to come back, and expect your good people to stick with you. Instead, what really building an agency is all about is being actively involved. It's kind of, in a sense, the opposite of being a passive income stream. There's certainly some aspects of it that make it what I would call semi-passive. You can take time off. You can do other things besides work or manage your agency for a period of time, maybe weeks or slightly, maybe a month to month and a half at best if you're honestly engaged. Otherwise, what you're going to find happening is people can't get with you, they can't talk to you, they get frustrated, they quit, the failure rate's higher, and you find that you really don't have a lot of people that stick around. So if you're really looking for a truly passive income strategy, insurance sales, agency building just really isn't fully passive. At best, it's really just semi-passive. So now that we've finished talking about the pros and cons of agency building, let's shift gears and talk about the pros and cons of building a passive income stream from selling Medicare. So one of the pros of selling Medicare products to build a passive income stream is that it's one of the easiest products to actually make that happen. Let me explain why I believe specifically Medicare Advantage is one of the easiest products to sell and to gain a passive income stream from. First of all, unlike many of the life products my audience and many of you out there have sold, Medicare Advantage does not have any kind of underwriting from a health perspective. Nor are there, with most of the plans out there, any premiums. You're not actually even collecting money the vast majority of the time because these plans now have evolved into being a zero premium type of plan. And what's surprising to many agents who sold final expense or mortgage protection is that these prospects actually want to talk to you. They actually want to see what their benefits are and to see what new plans that are out there that can help them give more, because Medicare is a tangible good. There's tons and tons and tons of money spent on the acquisition and attention of their prospects. And so a lot of people have Medicare on the mind and are more likely to listen, show up for appointments, and be engaged in the process of you trying to help them with their Medicare question. Another advantage of selling Medicare is you don't have to get into the management game like you would if you were having to build, in the last example, an actual agency, or maybe you got into another line of work like property and casualty, which is also passive-based, but requires a lot of office staff and helpers in order for you to stay focused on selling. Take, for example, my friend in the business, Luis Moreno, who teaches our Medicare agents. He actually owns a farmer's agency, and he has a bunch of staff. I think it's like 7 or 8 people that manages his block of business, maybe about 5,000 clients or so. But with the Medicare side, he doesn't have anybody in particular that's full-time and working his block of clients, because the amount of admin work necessary to sustain that book of business is so much less than what you would find with other products and lines of work. And the last point here about why I think Medicare sales is truly a great opportunity for most people out there who are watching this is because Medicare sales, simply put, anecdotally, I've seen, has a much, much, much higher success ratio than agency building. Agency building is not a lightweight type of profession to follow. You've now moved from sales to now managing people. And all of these people are putting their hopes and dreams in your hands, and it's your responsibility to help them navigate through this career change, to help them achieve this goal of being financially stable, financially sound, and achieving, a great outcome from their sales results. Whereas with Medicare, you've already got the skill set necessary to sell insurance in many cases, and you're just transmuting that to a different product, which in many cases is a lot easier to sell, as we mentioned earlier. And that whole process of changing from salesperson to a different salesperson is a lot easier than shifting from salesperson to business owner or salesperson to manager. And a lot of people just find the transition to going to Medicare to build passive income is a lot smoother and therefore, in my experience, a much higher success rate. So let's talk about some drawbacks to Medicare sales and building a passive income stream. So number one is that the Medicare sales business is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not something where you're going to build this significant cash flow really quickly. In many cases, it takes years, several years, in fact, even for the most productive agents to build a significant stream of income. Why? Because any type of residual product, any passive income paying product in the insurance business means that its first year commission's a bit lower. And so in order to overcome the income opportunity that one would get from first year driven products like final expense or mortgage protection, it's going to take several years of a policy staying on the books and your client being serviced by the Medicare plan that you wrote for them, before it starts to become bigger and bigger and bigger, and thus more lucrative than what you'll find in that first year of selling any kind of life insurance product. And the other thing that's a drawback with the Medicare space is, especially if you get involved with Medicare Advantage, you're going to have to keep your AHIP credentialing up. You have to take that every year. It is a kind of tough exam. It's not impossible, but they want you to score a 90% or better to pass, and you always have to be renewing that in order to keep your streams of income paying. So even if you get to the point of retirement, you've got to keep that up and renew that every year to make sure everything stays on the books and stays stable like you want it to. Okay, so let's talk about some takeaways now that you know the pros and cons of both Medicare and building an agency. And here's some kind of like highlights that I would have for anybody that's looking at both of these and kind of my experience. Again, I'm an agency builder. I've been involved in the Medicare space, helping agents succeed in selling Medicare, specifically Medicare Advantage, successfully for, I think now since like 2018. So I've got a good base of perspective on both courses of action. So let me give you kind of my overall picture of this. Number one, if you're asking me what is likely going to be the better or higher success rate opportunity, it's probably going to be selling Medicare. Again, I've been in agency building for a long time. I've had a lot of agents want to build agencies, but they realize that the task of building is entirely different from the task of selling, and that even if they're good salespeople, many just are simply not cut out for the type of skill development it takes to be kind of a people-oriented person, to listen more, to be patient with your agents, to help them out, to train them. It's a lot of a bigger task to manage than just managing yourself. And for many of those successful agents out there, they would just do themselves and service people a lot better if they just continued to do what they're doing. But instead adding in a new line like Medicare in this case, where they can continue to do what they do best, which is sell, but again, transmute that activity now towards Medicare Advantage to where they can build this large passive income block of business. And the last thing, again, I cannot stress enough is that if you really want passive income, and when we're talking passive income, we're talking about income that you get to make without having to put a substantial amount of work in. If you really want that kind of business, it's much more accomplishable through Medicare Advantage sales than it actually is through agency building. Again, anybody who's run an agency will tell you, you cannot leave your people high and dry. You've got to be there by your phone, by the text message, by your email. You've got to train them on a regular basis. You have to be actively involved to have an actively successful and growing agency. And any time that you think, well, it's passive and I don't have to do anything, that's when your business is going to start to stall. It's going to start to plateau, and you're not really going to be as successful as you want to. Whereas with Medicare Advantage sales specifically, it pays a lifetime income. And yes, you do have to follow up with your prospects, but I think the work that it takes to follow up with them is a lot less, and you can actually outsource a lot of the stuff a lot easier. You can pay a VA to make the phone calls. You can pay a VA to handle any claims questions. You can pay other people to send out and schedule routine cards and follow-up calls and emails and text messages. So there's a lot of ways you can automate this process and scale up to a large amount. And I think for most of you all out there, that's kind of the conversation I'm having with my team right now, is a lot of people are really interested into building their income once they're successful in final expense, and they want to know what direction to go to. And it's usually 9 out of 10 times, really, guys, that the Medicare Advantage space, building a passive income that way, is arguably the easiest and the fastest way and the least risky way to do it, because the chargebacks just aren't a big problem in Medicare Advantage, and you don't have to co-sign deadbeat agents' debt and run the risk of that rolling up to you. Hope you found this video helpful. If you're interested in learning how to sell Medicare Advantage to build a passive income stream or build an agency, I train and teach on both of those. You can go to davidduford.com/contact. I do not need you to do your final expense or life insurance business with me to get into the Medicare space. If you want to build a final expense or life agency, yes, you'd have to do all your business with me, of course. But if you'd like to learn more, davidduford.com/contacts, the place to go. And thanks for watching. See ya.